All right, Bob, 3 doubleheaders for your team in a 7-day span. Is that tougher on your players who are going through all these games, or maybe also the manager who's got to deal with lineup cards, injuries, and a bullpen?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of rotating involved, and when you go through a stretch like this, less the doubleheaders even, everybody's not going to be available on a particular day. So you try to cycle in players, you try to keep them fresh. We've gone through an injury bug as it is right now. So yes, it's a bit of a challenge, but mine's more clerical than anything else. And the players have to go out there and play. So it's much more difficult on them than it is me.
In the last 11 days, you guys have gone through a lot of adversity. First, there was the worry of that positive COVID test. Then there was quarantining almost 3 straight days in your hotel rooms in Houston. And then having to reboot your season only against the San Diego Padres and a 5-game series right now against the Astros. Because of all this, what have you either learned or reconfirmed about your team?
Well, we've learned that if you think things are going to go smoothly this season, they're not. And we've discussed that right away. And then we had a couple of games that we sat out for protest. We flew into a hurricane. We had all sorts of stuff going on. The hardest part was sitting in a hotel room for several days. That's a mental battle. And, our guys have been so diligent about staying to protocol. To have one pop up like it did that was kind of unavoidable. And then we have to pay for it was hard. And now we're paying for it now with these games. But it's just the way it is. Our guys continue to battle. They don't make excuses. They know what they signed up for, and they know we're going to have to play a lot of games in very few days. So it's just a part of the schedule we're in right now that was kind of unavoidable.
Bob, switching gears here, a bit more of a lighthearted debate that our panel had the other day. Of the 4 players I'm about to name, which one could hit a baseball the farthest? Chris Davis, Chad Pinder, Matt Olson, or Sean Murphy?
Ooh. I think right now just pure power, and we have, obviously we can measure it with exit velocities and distance and so forth. Sean Murphy and Chad Pinder hit an awfully long way. You'd have to put Matt Chapman in there too.
Okay.
Ole and KD more frequent. I think distance-wise, you'd have to put those other 3 at the top.
Okay. You didn't want to pick one. You just want to keep it a group?
Honestly, I think Chapman. As far as exit velos go, it was Chapman. Franklin Barreto was another guy as far as exit velocities. Right. He didn't get the launch angle, but I would have to say full out, probably Chapman.
Look at you with all the metrics. All right, I've got to ask you this obligatory. I've got to ask you the obligatory replay review question, and I don't want to get you in trouble here, so let's not do that. But wouldn't it be more satisfying if baseball were more like football or hockey, that when a replay had been reviewed and a decision was made, you give the umpires a mic and you let them explain everything to either the crowd in attendance or those watching on TV? Wouldn't it be more satisfying that way?
I'll take it even further. They want us to umpire in 20 seconds. A video guide umpire in 20 seconds. And sometimes we don't have all the angles, and sometimes we don't have super slow-mo in those 20 seconds. And then it's kicked to a group of umpires in a room with all kinds of technology that takes several minutes to get it done. And I'm not criticizing the umpires. And then the call on the field has a lot to do with what the call is going to be. It should be about right or wrong, in my opinion. And then if you miss a call, then you go 6 innings without having the right to get a call right. And that's a problem for me. I think, personally, that the game should be played. The umpires should do the umpiring. And if there's a missed call, they look at it at the replay room and they stop play and they make the right decision. That's how I would like to see it done.
I see what you're saying. It's not about the people. It's more about the process. And I think we all agree with that. Everything different here in 2020. Let's state that. But do you also feel like your team's matchups against Houston feel a lot different as opposed to the last 2 years? And maybe a big part of that is now that they're chasing you guys.
Yeah, it's a little different team now, too. With Cole gone and Verlander out. But the lineup still is as significant a lineup there is in baseball. It is a tough one to navigate through when they're fully healthy, and as you've seen here, last couple of days too. So The spirit is still there. We got off to a little better start. We're in a different position right now, but it's still a battle. It's still quite the rivalry, and I know there's two hard-fought games left.
Your team's starting rotation has a lot of different individual stories, so I know it would be difficult to kind of group them together, but maybe that's what I want you to do is give me a theme of your starters this season if you had to pick just one.
Well, you know what? It's a tight-knit group, and we feel good about everybody that takes the mound on a particular day, and that's really what you want from a team is when a starter takes the mound, the feeling of winning or losing starts with those guys. So we feel that way with every one of these guys. The numbers don't look great at this point, maybe throughout the course of the season, but they still give us a psychological advantage. Our bullpen's probably pitched a little better, but it's also more difficult for the starters to get in sync in a short season like this, and one that was cut off and then tried to ramp up, and now they're only throwing 60 pitches or 70 and trying to get to where they normally are on the fly. So that's a difficult thing to do. But we like all our starters, and Minor pitched well for us yesterday. So it's a tight-knit group that really kind of pushes each other, and I think we're getting better as the season goes along in the rotation.